someone, what do you say? Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? But can you imagine walking into the store this week, going up to the clerk and saying, "Who do people say that I am?" Or, "Who do you say that I am?" As you listen to that gospel today, the gospel story is about and meant for people who had already come to know Jesus. They knew his personality. They knew who he was. They knew he was from Nazareth. He knew he was the son of Mary and Joseph. But they weren't sure what he was all about. That they could not put together. Today, we're asked the same question here. We're all familiar with the stories of Jesus, and I'll bet you we could all list 100 different stories that we like, or our favorite story about Jesus. But I would suspect that most of us are still trying to figure out what this person Jesus is all about. And I'm sure there are many out there that are struggling to be able to answer that question. Who do people say that I am? It's easy for us to talk about heaven in here, isn't it? Kind of seems like a decent place to do that. Or to talk about angels, to talk about God. But for some people, it's like talking about something unreal. It's different than talking about money or food or clothes. Those tangible realities that we surround ourselves with day in and day out. But we come together here today because somehow we believe as a community that this person of Jesus, no matter where we are in that search, has something to say to us. And so the question comes to us today: how do we convince people outside of this Christian community, and some even inside this community, that the spiritual world, or that inner world of our lives, or that aspect of our life that is intangible but we know that is here, it's what's deepest in us, the deepest meaning, the deepest moments of our heart, the deepest moments of our relationship. Somehow we know that that's more than the tangibles of money, food, or clothes. It's different than the material world. So how do we present Jesus? Or how do we represent Jesus? Or how do we represent Jesus to the world that is questioning who Jesus is? In the days that Jesus walked the streets of Galilee or Jerusalem, people came into contact with Jesus. And they knew they were in the presence of someone special. You remember the woman at the well? She met Jesus. He told her that she had 7 husbands and was a sinner and knew all about her, but offered her the fullness of life. She was amazed. He has told me things that I never knew about myself, those deepest part of myself. Remember Zacchaeus up in the tree, who was absolutely overwhelmed at seeing Jesus and had to go up higher in order to see him. We think of the lepers, especially the one who came back and gave thanks and understood there was something more than just the physical healing. Or we think about the blind man, who somehow only was able to see in shadows, and then all together began to see more clearly who Jesus was. This is the Messiah. And he came to that understanding. Somehow Jesus' words and actions, the very quality of his life, being in his very presence, opened the eyes Open the ears, open the hearts to the reality of God. A reality of God that people had lost. They had lost that ability to love, that ability to care, that ability to show mercy, that ability to be compassionate, that ability to be understanding. They had lost that. They had become hard-hearted. They lost that empathy. You know, it says one of the greatest losses in our society is that lack of empathy. Lack of empathy in the classroom. Lack of empathy in the home. Lack of empathy in our community, in our nation. That lack of empathy. Somehow Jesus was able to open that up, go beyond the surface of their life, beyond the clothes, the food, and the money, and touch the surface of their lives. And so today, there's people who need that same encounter. They're seeking some deeper reality, some better answer to their life. And so the mission and the ministry of the church, the job of this community, is to enable that encounter to take place. Hopefully people, when they encounter us, remember that's in the plural, not just any one of us, but when they encounter us as a community of faith, either here or out there, that they should be able to experience something about the quality of our lives, the values we express, the way we live. They should be able to encounter and feel a presence. They should be able to feel that presence of God in our life. That reality of God's love, the reality of God's kindness, the reality of God's compassion. They should be able to feel that, understand that. They should be able to connect with that. So when we say, who do people say that I am? When Jesus asked that question of us, that question is answered in the plural. Who do people say that we are as a community of faith? Do they really encounter the body of Christ and the presence of Christ? Now, if you remember, Peter was given the keys to the kingdom of heaven by Jesus. And he said, whatever you open will be opened. We're given the keys to the kingdom. But that key is the cross. That's what we heard in the gospel today. That key is the cross that opens for others and opens for ourselves the reality of God. As I've mentioned many times, there's no bypass around Jerusalem. We have to go to Jerusalem. We have to go to the cross. We have to be willing to give ourselves that self-giving love. So who do people say that we are? A lot of answers, some pretty good ones. Some say we're Elijah. Some say we're John the Baptist. Some say we're one of the prophets that are risen. But if we hear that answer from people, you are the Christ. You are the Christ. Listen to that. You are the Christ. That's pretty dramatic. Those implications, the implications of that statement and believing that has serious implications also on what we do here and what we do out there. So who do people say that we are? Answering that question will change the reason we come here every Sunday. And it will change the reason what we do out there. We'll never be quite the same in here, and we will never be quite the same out there. God bless you.